What's up, YouTube Gen X? I put the whole idea of educated black men being corny and lame in the same category of men that tell women that they're unattractive to keep them around. So they know that they're dealing with a chick that's pretty attractive, and quite frankly, if she went back on the market, there would be plenty of men trying to get with them. So the dude feels like his best method of keeping her is to convince her that she is grotesque, and he is the only man that wants her. I really do feel like that's the game that black women want to play when they run to the sort of your educated black men are corny or lame. First of all, it makes no sense to have that stereotype, then to also have the stereotype of being arrogant. Now, can you be corny and lame and also be arrogant? Yeah, you can. But it's like me saying fast food and healthy. Can you have healthy fast food? Yeah, you can. But do they fit? No. You don't associate fast food with healthy. So the whole idea of corny and lame and arrogant don't really go together. I mean, you can make it work, but they don't really complement each other. So why is it that you have those two stereotypes that are so far off from each other? One is hot, one is cold. You know, to me, there's too much of a gap to have those two stereotypes be that damn common, in my opinion. But like I said before, I put it in the same category. Let's keep it real here. A dude that's corny and lame isn't that desirable to most women. The only time you really see a dude that may flat out be corny and lame still getting decent chicks is, let's say he's a multi-millionaire. You know, and you can see that. You know, let me give you an example. Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. Dude is corny as hell. But I'm sure he's, you know, dealing with highly attractive women. Right? And you see that with a lot of your fucking millionaires. Like, you know, you have a lot of these white guys that they have some sort of product or whatnot, and they become like a millionaire overnight. They're somewhat younger, so they have this sort of young bachelor sort of vibe. And these dudes are still corny and lame. I don't care how much money they have. Look at how they talk, even how they dress. It's like, you know, you don't really make it cool. You know, you want to be like Tommy Lee Jones, but you're really not there. Right? You know, you're not there. Is it Tommy Lee Jones or what's his name? You know, what's Pamela Anderson's ex-husband's name? Something Jones, or Tommy Lee, not Tommy Lee Jones. I think it's just Tommy Lee. You know, they want to be that sort of, you know, hip sort of, you know, rebel sort of guy. And it's like, you know, let me get my hair done a certain way. You know, let me buy some, you know, True Religion jeans and get some boots and act like I'm this sort of bad guy. But you're not. Right? You know, you're still corny and lame. But you're a millionaire. You know, so quite frankly, when you have that much money, it doesn't matter what the fuck you have going on. At that point, you know, she knows that her life is set forever. Whatever she wants, she can have with or without you. All she really has to do is have a kid by you or get married by you or whatever. But if you are like a rank and file dude, you know, you're not really a millionaire, even if you're doing well. You know, even if you're doing well, good career, you're making great money, over six figures, but you're not really a millionaire, are the women still checking for you if you're corny and lame? Probably not. Because, yeah, you have good money, but is it enough money for them to have that sort of, I can put up with his corniness and his lameness? No, not so much. Not really. You know, you're not at that point where the money's so great that you could just start, you know, writing shit off. Where all of a sudden it really doesn't matter what you have going on. Right? But even a dude that's, you know, let's say, you know, a rank and file lawyer, you know, making decent money, that's still not enough for him to overcome any sort of corniness and lameness. You know, he can't go off and say, you know, hey, I'm a lawyer, but I'm kind of corny and lame, and the women are going to fall over. Now, if he came through and said that, you know, he owns his own firm, you know, or he's some notable attorney with some large firm that has a whole bunch of offices nationwide, you know, and he is a multi-millionaire or whatnot, then you're getting somewhere. But your rank and file lawyer, that's not going to save him from being corny and lame. So I look at this whole idea of black men being corny and lame, and I'm like, if that's the stereotype, why are you complaining about these men? Why are you complaining? Because the money isn't good enough for that to trump being corny and lame. You know, we're not walking around with multi-million-dollar bank accounts to the point where shit doesn't even matter anymore. So why complain? You know, you don't want those men. My money's not enough for you to overlook my corny and lameness. You know, that's why for me, I don't buy it. For me, it's a ploy. Let me get these men to accept the fact that they're corny and lame, and we're the only women that want them, as a tool for me to hold on to him. That's how I view it. You know, let me get him to believe that he's less of a man, or he's just not that desirable overall, you know, but I'm the only one that's going to take you. You know, so now I'm looking at her, and it's like, I'm so thankful, because she wants my corny lame ass, and that's what you have with the chicks. She's attractive, you know, she's like an 8 or a 9, but dude's telling her she's a 4 or a 5, and all of a sudden, she's thankful for having him. Oh my gosh, I'm so thankful, at least I have a dude. You know, but she's really not, and I feel like that's the same shit that you get with this sort of black men are corny and lame. I just really don't see that stereotype. Am I saying that, you know, am I trying to say that there's no corny or lame black men? No, not at all. But go ahead, step on a college campus or anywhere where you have educated black men, and I really don't see this sort of overall corny and lameness. I really don't. I don't care where you go. You know, are they the most swagged out? No. But are they corny and lame? Like, no, not at all. I don't really see that. You know, most educated men, I don't care what race they are not corny and lame. You know, most of your educated Asian men aren't even on some, like, you know, bowl cut with the glasses, with the calculator. Like, that's not even how they look. You know, your average educated Asian man is probably driving some, you know, Acura TSX or some sort of, you know, Japanese sort of car. You know, that's what he's into. So when he's not studying, you know, he's trying to soup up his car. That's what he's into. You know, or he likes to go shoot pool, you know, and have a couple of drinks and, you know, smoke a couple of cigarettes or whatnot on the weekend. Somewhere in Orange County or Irvine for my Southern California people. You know, that's what they're doing. So I don't really see this overall corny and lameness out of any group, truth be told. But this sort of idea that they want to shove them, it's like it's a failure. Because you got the sort of stereotype of black men being corny and lame floating around everywhere. You can't have both. So somebody fucked up. Or some group fucked up. Because I think it's just more so a ploy. Let me get you to actually believe you're corny and lame. But I still want you. So you have to accept that fact, and, you know, you should be thankful that I'm still around. That's bullshit. We both know the truth. I just don't understand how many black women run around screaming about how, you know, oh, they weren't being picked in college. Dudes were too cool. You know, the Omegas ran through her. The Kappas ran through her. You know, they weren't going to, you know, throw themselves at his feet like the white girl, the Asian girl. Right? You know, they weren't going to do all that, and all of a sudden you're running to corny and lame. You know, we're trying to stop or prevent black men from dropping out of college or whatnot, you know, for being too cool, being too swagged out. Because you step on a college campus, you're a fucking superstar. Step on a college campus and just be ordinary. Just step on a college campus and have on a pair of Jordans and a Yankee fitted. You're good to go. Ordinary. You're already a fucking superstar. So with that being said, I just don't buy it. It's a ploy. It's a trick. It's a gimmick. You're corny and lame, but yet we still want you. So you should be thankful. I'll settle for you. That's bullshit. So y'all think about it. It is what it is. Take it easy. God bless.